Welcome to Becoming Authentic. Becoming Authentic. How to become an authentic leader. That's the session that we start right now. And we'll be on this session for the next 9 days. The next 9 days, it's a 9-day exploratory program on authentic leadership. My name is Olatunji Shobodu, and I will be your anchor for the entire 9 days. Olatunji Shobodu, founder and CEO of Emmet Leadership Academy. At Emmet Leadership Academy, we nurture leaders based on truth. So we're coming to you today on the subject of authentic leadership, and we're bringing the truth about authentic leadership right to your doorstep. I want to thank you for joining me today on this session, and I look forward to an exciting time together over the course of the next 9 days. This is day one of the program, and day one, and we'll be looking at the subject of what it really means to be authentic, what authentic leadership really means. Okay, so I'll be providing today an overview, of the program and laying the foundation for the next 8 days. That is, if you take today out, of it, and I'll be working with a presentation, using that as a guide to deliver the content of this program. So, like I said, Olatunji Shobodu is my name. We're talking authentic leadership over the next 9 days, and it promises to be an exciting time. Every day we meet at the same time. And in case you are going through this as a course, then I believe that as you finish one segment one day, you will be given access to, the next day. Today is what authentic leadership really means, what authentic leadership really means. And permit me to, share with you my presentation for, today. So today it's day one. What does authentic leadership really mean? What does it mean? Okay, so let's look at basically, we're talking about exploring the essence of authentic leadership. What is the essence of authentic leadership? We want to explore that, and also, you would understand the power of authenticity in shaping your leadership legacy. Every leader, every true leader wants to leave, a legacy, and not just a legacy of any sort, but a credible legacy that will stand the test of time, a legacy that will still be speaking, years after the leader has left the scene, a worthy legacy in every respect. And so, for a leader to truly leave a worthy legacy, we will show that authenticity is very crucial for the leader. Authenticity has to be an anchor for such a leader, in the conduct of a leadership in the quest to deliver his or our mandate. So that those are two things that we'll be looking at today. What does it really mean to be an authentic leader? Authenticity is a crucial feature that leaders strive to attain. I mean, what is a leader if he or she is not authentic? Um, the opposite of authenticity is hypocrisy. All right. So, and you can only be one or the other. All right. You can be both. In fact, you can be authentic to some extent, and a hypocrite to some extent. Now, many of us don't like the use of the word, hypocrite. And if you ask me, I would say I'm not. I'm sure if I ask you, you would refuse, to be described with such a term. And that shows the extent to which we loathe that word hypocrisy and being described as such. Unfortunately, however, even when we don't accept it or want to accept it, it's the case that many leaders are hypocrites. Many leaders are hypocrites. And the reason is because they don't live true, to what they project. And the interesting dimension of our own program, um, uh, is to show you that there is a different way to look at that all important, crucial feature of authenticity. Is not a one dimensional assessment. All right. It's not, you may be authentic in one dimension, but, be struggling to come across as being authentic in another dimension. Or people may still come to the conclusion that you are not authentic, or if you like, if you are not, opposed to my use of that word, you are a hypocrite as a leader, because they are looking at you, based on a different dimension from which you're looking at yourself. All right. It's not just about living true to your word. And that's why you would see a distinction that we make very shortly between walking your talk and walking the talk. All right. There's a difference between the two, a big difference, I might add. And this difference is how we get into trouble in our quest to come across as authentic. Okay. It's how we get into trouble, because we often will look at ourselves, appraise ourselves from one dimension, whereas there are multiple dimensions, that we have to bring to bear, that we have to focus on if we truly want to be authentic. In actual fact, whereas we look at one dimension, we often talk about our words aligning with our actions, but we are going to show, over the course of the next 9 days, that there are at least 7 crucial dimensions that must form the basis for assessing authenticity when it comes to the subject of leadership. And if you truly want to come across, if you want to reduce the preponderance of people thinking or coming to the conclusion that you are not authentic, then you need to work on more than one dimension. If you work on these 7 dimensions, chances are that you will, um, be seen as truly authentic by the people you lead. And, let's also say that, uh, leaders, as you would see in that slide, we strive to attain authenticity. So it's not something that you just become, it's something that you work towards. It's hard work. I must confess, it's attainable. That's the very interesting, and encouraging aspect of it. And there are marvelous benefits, associated with attaining it. When you attain it, it does great, great things for your leadership efforts. It makes you successful. It guarantees you lasting success. We'll look at some of those benefits very shortly. So, authenticity is a crucial feature. All right. And leaders, if you're a true leader, you must strive to be authentic. You must never take it for granted. You must never even assume it away. You must work towards it. There is nothing to leadership if you are not going to be authentic. You have nothing or little or nothing to offer if you are not going to be authentic. All right. And, you know, like I say, it's putting the lives of people in danger for you to come across as anything but authentic in your leadership assignment. It's hard to be an authentic leader. It is, especially if you were not produced by one, especially if you were not produced by one. Why is that um, sort of caveat? Why is that additional point about if you weren't produced by one? Why? Because a good tree produces a good fruit, and a bad tree produces a bad fruit. If you weren't produced by someone that you regard as being an authentic leader, chances are that you are not and you can't be an authentic leader. Why? Because you have not learned, you have not been brought up to walk the path of authenticity. Every leader reproduces after his kind. A hypocrite leader, a leader struggling with authenticity cannot produce an authentic leader. So please don't kid yourself. If you do not, if you never regarded the one that you worked with, your leaders of yore, as authentic leaders, you can't possibly be authentic because you don't have what it takes. In order for you to be authentic, you must come under, those who understand what it is, who are committed, to living it. And, you embrace their teachings, you put their teachings to practice, and then you begin to walk the path of authenticity. So it is difficult, all right, for a bad fruit to certain that is produced by a bad tree to suddenly put itself forward as though it were a credible fruit. So authenticity is both a significant challenge as it is a top priority. It's a top priority of leadership. It must be put at top priority for any leader who is serious about being a true leader, about doing leadership right. But walking that path is a significant challenge, remains a very significant challenge. We need to point that, we need to lay the foundation for that, well early in this session. So, to be authentic is to walk the talk, is to walk the talk. And I'm sure you're not hearing this for the first time. This is, or appears to be, a very common terminology. But we often talk about walking your talk as opposed to walking the talk. All right. But for the moment, let's say, well, both of them still refer to the need and the call for you and I to be authentic. All right. But there is a difference between the two. And that's what this slide tries to project. All right. Walk the talk. Don't just walk your talk. All right. So there is your talk and there is the talk. All right. There is your talk and there is the talk. What's the difference between the two? Authenticity isn't really walking your talk, but walking the talk. It isn't really walking your talk, but walking the talk, as especially as it refers to the aspect of leadership. Okay, there is how you want to do things, there is how things should be done. All right, so you make pronouncements, you define how you want to do leadership, and you make all your effort to live up to it. That is trying to walk your talk. But walking the talk is that there is a way that leadership needs to be done, and you're expected to align yourself with that way. If you don't, and until you do, we can't regard you as being authentic. We can't regard you as being authentic until you do. So, authenticity isn't leading as you want, but leading as you should. Can you see the difference? It's not leading as you want, it is leading as you should. There is how you want to do things, how you want to lead. There is how you should lead. There is how you should lead. Now, the concept of leadership is far older than you and I. And it's not for you to be the one who will define how you want to do leadership. All right. You are expected to learn how leadership should be done and to do it as it should be done. So, the reason why many of us fail the test of authenticity is because we like to walk our talk, which is to do leadership according to our own dictates, according to our own thinking, according to, our own beliefs, if you like, or theories or concepts, when in fact there are laid out ways, laid out principles, fundamental truths that guide leadership. You are not expected to reinvent the wheel. I am not expected to reinvent the wheel. So there is a way that leadership is done. I like something that I saw um, in the scriptures about the leadership of Joshua, for example. Joshua was someone who took over from Moses. All right, Moses was like his leader. He was like a protege of Joshua was like a protege of Moses. But when the mandate was given to Joshua, he was told, "This is how you are expected to lead. You are not to depart from this to the left or to the right." And he was told, "Be very bold and courageous." I love that. But one thing stayed with me, that the protege was required to operate within the same context that the leader, his or her leader, operated in. He wasn't allowed to start shuffling things around, to start implementing his own sort of, regime or principles or what have you, because somebody had done what you are about to do before and did it well. And more importantly, there are rules of engagement. So when it comes to leadership, there are rules of engagement as well. There are rules of engagement. There are laid out rules of engagement, and you are not required to start tampering with them. So authenticity, and indeed, therefore, authentic leadership is about measuring your leadership conduct against the expected, the laid down, all right, principles of leadership. We'll be looking at how well you perform your role as a leader in relation to how you should perform your role as dictated by already laid down principles and concepts. So, walking the talk is different from walking your talk. When you stay true to what leadership demands, then you're authentic. Then your team, your people will see you as being authentic. When you choose what you want to give, how you want to do it, and decide to do it differently from how it should be done, then you may be walking your talk. You just may be walking your talk, because even that is challenging enough. But certainly you are not walking the talk. Certainly you are not walking the talk. And let me speak briefly about even walking your talk. Like I said, that itself is a challenge for many, to say one thing and to actually live true to what they are saying. And that's the one dimension that we often consider when we are talking about authenticity, especially when we are appraising ourselves. But even within that very limited context, which is only one out of 7 dimensions, we still fail. We still fall short. Many still cannot uphold or live true to what they say. They are not faithful to their declarations. All right? So, like I said, that is 1 out of 7 dimensions. And if you are not faithful in the least or in little, how can you be faithful? How can you be faithful in the much? We understand that also from scripture. All right? Just aligning your action with your words is tough. Many fail, but is the easiest of all the 7 dimensions. Is the most basic of all the 7 dimensions. So hopefully that further gives you a sense of why it's important for you to make, you know, more serious effort towards ensuring, towards this crucial feature called authentic leadership. To give less than what leadership demands is to stray from the path of authenticity. That should be clear to you and I based on our, uh, description of what it means to walk the talk. Okay, when you give less than what is expected, you stray from the path of authenticity. And so it shouldn't surprise you that although you think that you are authentic, your people think differently, don't see you as one. Usually, the problem is in what are the dimensions that each party is using to assess authenticity. You most likely are using one dimension, your people are using more than one dimensions, even if they don't aware it or they are not very conscious of it. But as you would see when we begin to examine each of these seven dimensions, you would understand that indeed your people may have been using or must have been using these dimensions, and that's why you're having a challenge, right, coming to them as authentic in spite of all of your efforts. Now, you should agree with me with this statement that walking the talk, therefore, is not piece of cake by any means. Is not piece of cake by any means. If you're struggling to, you know, scale on one dimension out of seven, what happens, if you are being measured on the basis of seven dimensions at the time? And the one dimension that you're struggling with is the most basic, is the easiest of dimensions. So a true leader talks in seven dimensions. I must walk each of them. That statement is deliberate. All right. Um, so we talk about walking the talk. Okay, so you talk first before walking it. So we're saying there are seven ways a true leader talks. Okay, and he must walk each of the talks. He must walk each of the talks. All right, so there must be an alignment in each of the seven dimensions. That's what we're saying. And that's what will make you a true leader if you can fulfill it. And that's what you need to work towards in order to come across as being authentic. So know the talk so that you can walk them all. Know the talks so that you can walk them all. And that's what we'll be doing. We'll be running through the seven dimensions so that you have an understanding of what they are. You know what is required of you on each of those dimensions. You know what it would take, and hopefully we'll show you what you need to do, to come across, to scale, be successful in each of those dimensions. All right. So uh, this was meant to be some kind of joke, but there is a lot of substance in it. Talk less so you can remember what to walk. Talk less so you can remember what to walk. Um, the idea here is that when now talking in the sense of actually speaking, that many leaders say too many things. Many leaders make too many uh, uh, claims. Many leaders are, in some sense, talkatives. And when you talk too much, um, you can run into trouble. Okay? The Bible tells us that where there is a lot of, talk, you would not, it's not going to be difficult to find, falsehood there. That is, when somebody talks too much, is going to miss it. And one of the reasons is that people forget a lot of what they have said. Chances are that many of the things they said also are not quite true. And so it's difficult, if for them to live true to a lot of the things that they have said. It's difficult for them to be consistent from situation to situation because of so many views that they have expressed. And they tend to forget what they have said. But the people that they are leading do not forget. The people who are listening to them often do not forget. So it's like when there is too much talk, you lay a trap for yourself such that you are likely to be found wanting. And the moment that happens, and if that's something you do regularly, then there will be many more occasions where your people find a misalignment between what you have said and what you are doing. And of course, they can't but conclude that you are not authentic, that you can't be trusted, you're not reliable. So that's the point that I thought to make here. It's an important point that will help many of us. Now, let's look at the benefits of being an authentic leader. You want to, um, understand why should I even be interested in this? I think it's quite straightforward for anyone. However, maybe we should also look at some of the more significant benefits to arouse our consciousness and to further build our conviction about the need to apply ourselves in a manner that will be regarded and validated as authentic leaders. So let me share with you 12 important benefits, and I'm sure there are benefits you'd like to enjoy. The first is trust and credibility. Is trust and credibility. Now, the leadership relationship, that's the relationship between the leader and the follower. And by all means, it's a relationship, it's a very important relationship. It should be treated as such. Like every relationship, thrives on trust and credibility. Each party wants to be able to trust the other, and usually before they commit themselves to that relationship. So, like with every relationship, the productivity or the ability of that relationship to add value to each of the parties is going to be based on how quickly they're able to establish trust among themselves and to a large extent, the strength of the trust that they build. So, trust and credibility is important. The leader who is authentic gains the trust and respect of the people very quickly. And ultimately, they're able to build a strong reputation as people, leaders who can be trusted, leaders who are reliable, leaders who are dependable. Okay. That's one very important aspect, that benefit that being authentic, brings the way of your good self as a leader. And I think it's more profound when you understand that until trust is in place and respect on the part from your people towards you, you are limited in the impact that you can make on them. You are limited in how much and how well you can inspire them. And therefore, you are limited in your ability to mobilize them towards achieving any objective, whatever the objective may be. All right. And certainly, you would find it difficult to transform, all right, to deliver a transformative experience, to each of them. What we're saying is that until you have built trust and credibility, until you have that reputation, until the people have faith in you, you can't add value to their lives. You'll be limited in your ability to add value to their lives. And that means that your leadership will lack effect or effectiveness. Okay, so you want trust, you want credibility. It is something that every leader works hard to get and must work hard to get, because it is never delivered on a platter of gold. A leader must earn it. All right, these are things you earn. And one of the easiest ways of earning it is by coming across as an authentic leader. So you see a very important benefit of authenticity right there. So that's the first. Another benefit is that authenticity creates the culture, a positive team culture. It creates a culture that members of the team, the people that follow you, they are proud to belong to. It creates a culture where they feel safe because you are consistent, because you are dependable, because you are reliable, because you won't say one thing today or represent to them one side of you today, and tomorrow you are doing something else. Because you won't change, the goalpost in the middle of the match, among others. So the people feel safe and they can be themselves and they can truly apply themselves. Okay, so that's what happens when you are regarded as an authentic leader. You create the atmosphere that encourages and challenges, all right, motivates and inspires all your people to apply themselves more than they would have if they didn't regard you as being authentic. The point we're making here is that the culture, the environment where of an authentic leader, the environment that an authentic leader creates is often more inviting, more attractive, for your people than the one that a hypocrite, creates. And so, and environment is everything. Environment is everything. So, you want the right environment, the environment that makes your leadership productive, your efforts rewarded. You want to create that kind of environment, and authenticity helps you to do that, to set the right cultural context in place that brings out the best in your people. That also makes your people, all right, not afraid to exhibit their vulnerability. And guess what? As a leader, you want to encourage that because then you know the specific areas where you need to help your people, where you need to intervene, where you need to add value. Okay. And that further enhances your ability, the effectiveness of your leadership. That's number two. The third benefit is this is people empowerment. People empowerment. All right. When you are regarded as authentic, people can put their best forward. They feel empowered and they will be more engaged in the team. So there is engagement, there is application. People can apply themselves more. They are empowered, as it were. All right. Uh, Even as they are challenged to bring their best to the table, to bring their best to the table, something that authenticity also helps you with. And let me add that when this is in place, you are not likely to see a high turnover of people. You don't see people leaving you. As it's often said, people don't resign, they don't leave organizations, they leave bad leaders. All right. So, an authentic leader is not just a good leader, is a true leader. All right. A good leader may not be a true leader. That's, a discussion for another session entirely. But when you're authentic, you come across as a true leader, not just a good leader. And the impact or the effect is that your people will stay. Your people will stay. So when you look at somebody like Jesus who said, as part of his report card proudly that, look, I have done the work that you gave me in John 17. For those who are interested in making that reference, he said, I have done the work you gave me. All right. He said, so can you please give me my reward? And then he went ahead and said, look, of all the people that you gave me, I have not lost one of them. I haven't lost any of them, except the one who was destined for something else. So I have kept my people intact. All right. Why was he able to do that? Because he was an authentic leader. Because he was an authentic leader. One of the things that, and this would tell you why authenticity of leadership is top priority, as we mentioned earlier on. It was one problem that Jesus had with the leaders of his time, the Pharisees, the scribes, the Sadducees. He often prefixed his statement to them, his complaints about how they were conducting themselves as leaders, with the word hypocrites. He would say to them, hypocrites, and then make his comment. Hypocrites, and then make his comment. So the problem with them, with the leaders, with the leadership of the time, was hypocrisy. And it was expressed in the different dimensions that we'll be looking at, not just one dimension. If you care enough to study his interaction with them and the things that he pointed out as the very important weaknesses from them. Now, let me make this point as it just occurred to me. It isn't that you can't learn from hypocrite leaders. You can learn from hypocrite leaders, but you have to be careful. Even Jesus said it. He said, look, beware of the teaching, of the doctrine of hypocrite leaders, of the Pharisees. He said, listen to what they say, but ensure you do what they say, because they don't do what they say. And again, he was talking about just one dimension. Okay. But I wanted to make the point that you can learn something because of that counsel. Otherwise, people will think that you can't gain anything from the hypocrite. It's almost like saying you can't benefit from somebody who has not succeeded in a particular thing. You can, of course, benefit, because the fact that somebody did not succeed doesn't mean that he didn't do the right things, doesn't mean that he didn't take the right steps. There are conditions under which you take the right steps, you do the right things, indeed, that others have done to succeed, but in your case, you may not succeed. I dealt with that issue in one of my, if you check my YouTube channel, Olatunji Shobodu, you will find one of the broadcasts where I spoke to this particular issue. All right. So you can learn from somebody who failed, you know, and it's not right when people tell you that you can only give what you can't give what you don't have. People who failed can at least teach you how not to fail, because you want to find out from them what they did, why they did not succeed, and you want to compare it with what they ought to have done so that you can identify where the gaps existed. Okay, so that's number 3, benefit. And I hope you're being, encouraged to pursue authenticity in your leadership assignment. The number 4 is, the strength of your team. Is the strength of your team. When you're authentic, you promote understanding within the team. You lead, all right, to greater cohesion and strength. You lead your team to greater cohesion and strength, because what you then have is somebody that the team can trust, somebody that the team knows where he or she is going, somebody who the team knows is faithful to his gifts, to his purposes. All these things we're going to discuss, not just to his words, even to his authority. Okay, when you look at the totality of this, the team on an individual basis, everybody is attracted to you, everybody believes you, and because of that, they are more willing to work together. It's easier to get people to work together. They know also that the authentic leader is a fair leader, is one that upholds a playing field, that treats everyone equally. Okay, and so that kind of team is more united. The more united they are, the more committed to following you, the more trust that they have in you, the greater the strength of that team. And the strength of a leader is really determined by the strength of the leader's team, not so much, the individual strength of the leader. If you are still leading based on your own personal strength, you are shortchanging yourself, because the reason that you have a team is so that you can be helped by the team. Leaders need help, and the people that have been given to you, they are not nuisances. They are not, people they have their own strengths. In fact, they have strengths that you don't have. So one of the things that you want to do is to harness their strengths, is to help them to develop, you know, um, in their areas of weakness, is to help them to take full advantage of the skills and their talents, so that you make together a stronger team and you can accomplish greater things. When you are authentic as a leader, the strength of your team grows, you know, and it's the kind of thing that any leader would want, associated with his or her team. Number five is that you have stronger relationships. When you are authentic, you can be trusted. People want to they appreciate the value having a relationship with you. They want to have a relationship with you, a relationship that will not just be for the season that you are together, that will go beyond that season. That's the nature of what you get as an authentic leader. You're able to build enduring relationships because you can be trusted and you are seen as reliable. These are things that other leaders struggle with, they struggle to achieve it. They think that it can be done through other means, not knowing that the easiest, the shortest cut to achieving that strong relationship with your people is by being authentic. Another, number six, is that yes, you are vulnerable. A leader is allowed to be vulnerable, but vulnerability doesn't amount or should not amount to weakness. So that's why I put here, you're vulnerable, but adaptable as well. That means, yes, you remain predictable. You can be counted upon. In fact, your people know that some situations can get to you. Some situations can have an upper hand. All right. But they also know that you are so authentic. All right. Especially, for example, in the values and the principles that you uphold. And they are sources of great resilience for you. Okay. So a, it's a characteristic that elicits, that makes your people feel comfortable around you and comfortable to submit themselves to you. And indeed, very comfortable, willing and ready to help you in certain tricky circumstances. Let's look at the seventh. We're still talking about the benefits of authentic leadership, being authentic as a leader. There is a greater inspirational power. When you're authentic, you can inspire your team, all right, much more to strive for excellence, to strive to reach their full potential on individual basis as well as on team basis. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that what you want to achieve as a leader? Well, it's possible when you approach your leadership assignment with authenticity in mind, when you truly want to put out yourself as a true leader. There is number eight, which is that with authenticity, you can even make better decisions. Why? You are more self aware. You are more self aware. Notice what we have said. If you understand that authenticity isn't about one dimension, but there are many other dimensions, at least seven dimensions that we'll be looking at in this program, you can see that understanding that makes you more self aware, By the way, one of the dimensions that we're going to be looking at is your identity or your personality, or your character. Okay, we're using those words interchangeably for this purpose, and that's part of how you become aware of yourself. You need to be aware of yourself as one of the very important elements of authentic leadership. In fact, that's where we're going to be starting from in tomorrow's session. So they make better decisions because they are more aware of themselves. They are more in tune with their values, with their skills and their talents. They understand better the limits of their authority, and also the kind of results that leadership, that matters to leadership, and there is consistency in the way that they make decisions. They don't make decisions haphazardly. They have a basis for making decisions. So there's consistency in the way that they make their decisions. And you must have heard of the power of consistency. And that's part of what makes them better decision makers, authentic leaders, authentic leaders. Again, you see that it is worth striving for. It is worth doing everything to attain. Then number nine has to do with personal growth and fulfillment. I like the word fulfillment there, because they're able to align their personal values with their professional roles. It leads to a higher sense of purpose and fulfillment. It leads to a higher sense of purpose and fulfillment. They know that they are not flying blind. They know that their leadership conduct is anchored to seven key dimensions. All right. It helps them to continue to grow, and it gives them a far higher sense of purpose and fulfillment. A far higher sense of purpose and fulfillment. This is the kind of thing that makes a leader joyful and happy, all right, to take on leadership responsibility in spite of the huge burden. that it brings upon leaders, in spite of the huge burden that it brings upon leaders. Number 10, this is fairly straightforward. From all that we have said, you can see that you, there will be an improvement as if you become authentic as a leader, there will be an improvement in your effectiveness. All right. Your leadership is effectiveness will increase markedly. Okay. So, number 11 is also important, longer term success, because you are reliable, you are trustworthy, you are adaptable. All right. So, enduring success is assured. Enduring success is assured just because you decided to build up yourself as an authentic leader. And finally, the 12th benefit is what I call a unique leadership style. And you may find this, a bit puzzling. Why would I consider this to be a benefit? Well, yes, it's a benefit. And it's a benefit because an authentic leader is strong, is influential, but they are in short supply. So this is the way, and notice that we said that the authentic leader walks the talk instead of walking his or her talk. All right. So there is a style issue. You can do it your way, which is walking your talk, or you can do it the way it should be done, which is another style, a unique style because it's not common. There aren't many of them out there. They are in short supply. Authentic leaders are in short supply, but you want to become one of them. You want to become one of them. So that's the sense in which we use these as the 12th, final benefit that we want to identify for this purpose. The benefits are not necessarily exhaustive from all that we have said, but um, I think they're sufficient to convince you about the need to commit to develop yourself into an authentic leader, into an authentic leader. All right, so walk the talk. Don't just walk your talk. There are 7 ways to be an authentic leader, 7 dimensions of authenticity, uh, so that you are not you are not annoyed that your guys do not see you as being authentic, and you don't lose it. If you find some of your people bold enough to say to you, to accuse you of being a hypocrite, these are the things that they may be looking at, which you haven't been looking at. So, number one is the first dimension is your identity. Is your identity. You must be authentic in your identity. All right. When we look at the identity you project, all right, must be authentic. Must be authentic. All right. So you know your character and you live true to it. Don't project another character, is what many people do. Don't mislead people. All right. Know your character and live true to it. One of the reasons that this is such a huge issue is because many don't even know themselves. They think they know themselves, but in reality, they don't know themselves. Or perhaps they don't know themselves enough. And unfortunately, they are unable to live up to it. Some project who they would love to be, but they are not. And so, in the conduct of their day to day living, it's easy to see that who they are projecting is different from who they are. Now, how will people not conclude that this person is not authentic? And this is just one dimension. All right. The second dimension is your purpose. You need to understand the purpose of your calling to lead, not necessarily your purpose in life. They're two different things. And therefore, to anchor your approach to it, when it comes to leadership, what's the purpose of that role, of that assignment? It's not the purpose for your life, it's purpose that is contextual. So it's important for you to be authentic in that regard, to be faithful to that purpose. When you are faithful to the purpose of your leadership, that's authenticity right there. Can you appreciate another dimension? It's very different from the issue of identity. So, do you take the time to understand, to identify the purpose of your leadership? Why you have been appointed to that role? Why you have been appointed to head that group or that department or that team? Or you are still just focusing on your personal life purpose? Because there's a difference. And so imagine that your people are going to be seeking to see your activities aligned with the purpose of your leadership. One of the problems that many leaders have here is that they don't take the time to identify the purpose of their leadership. And then they don't convey it formally in clear terms to their team. Because once you do that, then the expectations of your team doesn't run riot. It's focused. They are not expecting you to deliver what is out of line with the purpose of your leadership. So the risk of being misrepresented or misinterpreted or mistaken for a hypocrite will be reduced significantly, possibly to zero. Your purpose is important. What's the purpose? Contextual purpose or functional purpose is very important. Very important. Number three, dimension that we'll be looking at, still talking about how to come across as being authentic, is your gift. You can't do leadership effectively. You can't be an effective leader. You can't succeed as a leader, at least not to the extent that is possible, without engaging your gift or talents or grace, or if you like, your skills. Every leader has something about them that makes them more able to accomplish certain results compared with somebody else. They need to be able to identify that. They need to be able to use it. There's no leadership calling that you find yourself in that will not require the use of your gift. And so you need to stay faithful to your gifts. You need to be authentic in the use of those endowments, those things that others can see in you. All right? You're a good footballer, you're very skillful. But when it comes to playing the game on the field, nobody sees. We're wondering, is this the same person? We know this person has a gift, but we're not seeing it. How do you imagine that people will interpret you to mean? A hypocrite? lacking in authenticity. So your gifts are important. You need to discover them and you need to actively engage them as you lead for the purpose of your leadership assignment. That's number three right there. Dimension. Number four, your principles and values. Are you a principled leader? What values do you commit to? What are your values? Are you known for what kind of values, for what kind of beliefs? What principles guide you? Earlier on, we talked about better decision making. It comes because you are consistent in upholding certain values, in committing to certain, upholding certain principles, committing to certain values. All right. You must commit to a clear set of principles to keep you consistent in your thoughts, in your decisions, in your actions, so that two situations don't confront you and you take two different decisions. You would not be regarded by your people as authentic. Why? Because they can't see the differences between the two situations. But here you are, you have taken two different decisions. And it will happen to you if you are not a person of principle. If we don't know what values are dear to your heart, what values you uphold in life. So you must be faithful to a set of principles. First of all, if you don't have them, you can be faithful to them. If you have them, then that's fantastic. Then you have an anchor. And so the next thing is to apply yourself. Ensure that every time you look at issues, you look at them in the context or in reference to those principles. Okay? There is number four. Dimension will be diving deeper into each of these over the course of the next 8 days. This being the first day, it's an exploratory program over the course of 9 days. Then, number five, your words. This is the one that we often, talk about. This is the dimension that we talk about more than any other thing. This is probably where the whole idea of walking your talk came from. All right. Says, are you saying and what are you doing? Is there an alignment? When there is misalignment, there's a problem. There's a gap. And that gap means you are not faithful to your words, means that you are not authentic. So you have to be intentional in your use of words so that you can live true to them. You have to be intentional. Leaders don't speak anyhow. Leaders don't speak just to be heard. There's a way to speak. There's a way. They have a way with words because they understand the place of words and the alignment to actions as a basis for establishing and communicating authenticity. That's number five. We'll be looking at that as well. Number six, your authority. You may be surprised that, wow, why would we be looking at authority while talking about authenticity? Oh, yes. The truth is that as a leader, you're a man or a woman of authority. You need authority. There's a place for authority and power if you must get your work done. I remember in Luke chapter 9, Luke chapter 10, Jesus was sending out the disciples to go and get assignments done. He delegated to them. And guess what he gave them? He gave them power and authority. Why? Because without it, they are bound to fail. So the idea of people suggesting that the leader should not use his authority for the purpose for which it is given is not quite correct. The important thing is that a leader must understand how to use authority and must do everything to avoid misuse of authority. A true leader does not abuse authority, uses it as and when it is required, uses it, all right, in furtherance of the effectiveness or attaining effectiveness in their leadership efforts, and never ever abuses it. They are matured enough, they are insightful enough, they are wise enough to know how to use their authority. They use it for the purpose for which it is given. So, to that extent, they are authentic. When you misuse authority, you would come across as a hypocrite. All right? Because your people understand what you are giving authority for. And when authority is correctly applied, your people really don't mind. They don't mind. There's a problem when it is misused. And this is one of the areas where you have to be very careful. This was an area, it's an area where every leader is going to be tested. It's one of the areas where many leaders fail. A lot of followers who complain about their leaders and the misuse of authority of their leaders in particular also end up falling into the same trap. Why? Because of what we're told. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. You need to be trained in the use of these things so that you won't come across as a hypocrite, so that you know how to use them, you know how to avoid abuse. So, authority is one important dimension of authenticity. You have been given authority as a leader, you must be faithful in your use of it. You must be faithful in your use of it. And we have many instances, all right, that Jesus himself gave about servants who were given authority and who misused it. Who misused it. They were not authentic leaders. They were not faithful in the use of the authority that was committed into their hands. The authority is like an asset. The authority is like, if you like, a resource. You hold it in trust. The one who appointed you to that role gives it to you because he knows you need it in order to be effective in that role. But you can misuse it. And when you misuse it, you expose yourself to hypocrisy. You lack authenticity. And then finally, this seventh dimension is the results. Is the results. What results do you produce? What results does your leadership input produce? You need to produce the right results so that you are living true to the essence of your calling to lead. All right? A simple example to give. If you are given a seed, an orange seed, we already know what results you're supposed to attain. For example, so if we give you an orange seed and you come back with mango fruit as evidence of your efforts, then you also know that there's a misalignment. We can't trust you. You are not credible. You are not authentic. We know what you have been given. You know what you have been given, or maybe you don't. So you need to find out. What we're saying, therefore, is that as a leader, compared with you as a leader, our results need not be the same. Again, the context of our leadership, what we have been appointed to achieve, is very important. And so, living true to that, being faithful to produce the expected results. Yes, we may have targets, we may not achieve them, but at least we're producing the results after the order of what is expected of us. And many times, the result really is in the effect that you have in the development of your people. And it can be in one area or the other, usually in relation to the skills and the attributes, of your very good self. So again, when there is a gap here, when there is misalignment, the issue of authenticity of your leadership comes through. Notice, you may be sincere in your person, all right? But it's not about you. It's about what you do in relation to the assignment, the leadership assignment given to you. That's what's important. That's what's important. So again, you see why this aspect is also a very important dimension for assessing authenticity and why your people will not fail to use it. So those are the 7 dimensions for the pursuing and achieving authenticity. It's a more wholesome approach, a more robust way of striving so that those other gaps that your people consider, which you don't consider, you don't overlook them and you can actually address them. And the truth is that when you are conscious of that and you conduct yourself in the light of that understanding, you will be surprised at how authentic you would be. In fact, it will be easier for you to appraise your own authenticity because now you're not just looking at what dimension, you're looking at 7 dimensions and you understand them exactly. So a leader will struggle without authenticity. That should be easy for you to appreciate. You will struggle without authenticity, whether you are male or you are female, whoever you are. You are called to walk the talk, not just walking your talk. Not just walking your talk. You are called to walk the talk. And so, 7 ways to stay authentic. It's not one or the other, it's all together. It's to keep this in view, is to strive along each of these lines, is to live true to your identity, live true, be faithful. That's what we mean. To your purpose, to your skills and talents, to your principles, to your words, to your authority, and to the right results. The results that truly matter to your leadership calling, to your leadership assignment. Like we said, we're going to be drilling down or digging deep to explore each of them over the course of the next 7 days. There are 7 dimensions. And so we'll start tomorrow looking at the first dimension. And here I'm saying to you, being authentic is leverage, it's leadership leverage at its highest. See, in order to succeed in anything, in any endeavor, you need leverage. Any times when people fail, is for lack of leverage. Leverage is what, those platforms you rely upon that puts you at an advantage, that increase your chances of succeeding in a particular endeavor. And so authenticity is a major leverage, is leverage at its highest. If you walk towards it, if you can attain it, if you can grow in it, then you would significantly transform the impact and the effectiveness of your leadership, the influence that you muster as a leader. You will distinguish yourself, all right, by that unique style of leadership, by that unique style of leadership. So, again, to remind you to walk the talk, don't just walk your talk. And by the way, there is an authentic leadership academy. You would want to join us. All right, it's the academy of leaders who are aspiring, who are working to be authentic leaders. All right, it's a community, of great leaders. It's a community that I commend to you to be a part of. I'm the anchor for that community, and that community would enrich you. That community will help you on an ongoing basis to build authentic leadership. You want to be a part of it. You want to be, you know, an important part of it. And I would share with you some links for you to that you can join that academy, through and exercise. Uh, all right, so I would share that with you in a bit. You can join that academy, by scanning the code on your screen. Just scan the code. It will take you to a landing page, or a place where you can appreciate. Join that academy, the Academy, Authentic Leadership Academy. There are a whole range of benefits. And it's where you can truly develop into an authentic leader based on truth. Based on truth. That's very important. Based on truth. So you can do that if you are comfortable, with Naira is a paid, you know, subscription community. You join, it's not free by any means. And the reason, one of the very simple reasons, is because um, people tend to take things more seriously. So we only want serious people, not just people who want to be just to play around, because we're going to meet, regularly. We're going to share. We're going to encourage people to participate, iron to sharpen iron and all of that. And therefore, we need people who are ready to be active, who are ready to really develop themselves into the kind of leaders, credible leaders that are in short supply, that the world is crying out for. And instead of thinking, that people who would not be looking towards others to fill that role, people who want to rise up and, put themselves forward to fill up that role. So for those who like, Naira payments, that's it. For those who are more comfortable with dollar payments, you can scan this code. Whichever one you scan, through it, you can enlist yourself among the Academy of Authentic Leaders, that community where we are constantly working on building ourselves into authentic leaders. And I'm sure you know you never arrive there. You never say, I've arrived. Um, the world is changing. The challenges, the nature of challenges we face are changing. The people that we are managing are changing. And so, as leaders, we have to continue to develop ourselves. We have to continue to develop ourselves. And so, that's it for this first day. We promised 1.5 hours each day. And that's what we'll be looking at today. By way of a reminder, we have been looking at what authenticity really is. We've provided, a broad framework um, um, within which we'll be discussing this concept of authentic leadership. We have seen why it's important, why it's both a challenge and a top priority for true leaders, and we have examined what the problem is. Or the fact that we typically focus on walking our talk or instead of walking the talk. And we have said it's important to walk the talk, not just our talk. And that may be the reason why you come across to your people as lacking in authenticity, because at best, you appraise your own authenticity on one dimension, the words, how they align with your action, when there are in fact 7 dimensions, all of which are simultaneously important, all of which your people most likely use, even if they are not conscious of it. And that's why they are unable to agree with you, about your claim to being authentic. Okay, so that's what our discussion has been, and we have gone through the 7 dimensions, provide, preliminary, basic explanation so you can understand why they're important as dimensions for assessing authenticity. And over the next couple of days, we'll be digging deeper into them. Now, if you have listened to what we have said and you know that you have a need, to be authentic, and you would like to commit yourself to it, to explore it further, you need coaching in that regard, I would invite you to click on that, um, on the code that you have on your screen. There's another code, I think is this way, okay, on top there, near my picture. Just scan that code and it will take you to a link where you can book a call with me and we can explore, what your issues are, and also whether or not we can work together, and whether I can be in a position to help you to improve where you are, or to help you resolve some of the leadership challenges that you are currently um, facing. So, if you need help to lead with authenticity, um, look at that link. Look at that link. Sorry, look at that link. And I've also given you some other options. You have other options that are listed right there, on the screen. You have the book. You can book a call, which is, you've seen a link there. It's the same link that the QR code will take you to the book a call, or you can send an email, all right, to my email box, and just express what you would like, and we can take things from there. Or you can send me a message on WhatsApp and just indicate what you would like, and then we can also take things from there. So you have the three, the three options, whichever is well suited for you. Please go ahead and initiate, and I'll be waiting to hear from you. So that's the session for today. We have been talking about how to become an authentic leader, also expressed as authentic, becoming authentic. And we have examined first, this day one, what it truly means to be authentic. I'll be coming to you same time, 1.5 hours every day from now till next week. Sunday, I believe, it's a 9-day, exploratory series of sessions, and you would want to join me. If today has made an impact, if it's added value to you, if you feel that authentic leadership is something that you want to commit to, is something worth pursuing, is something worth dedicating yourself to, if you want to be one of those who are authentic and you want to stop complaining about others, then of course, I think you want to take advantage of this. So reach out through any of those links. And remember, there is the Authentic Leadership Academy. It's an opportunity, it's a community, that I'm inviting you to join. And you can take advantage of it. There's so many benefits, but it's a group of leaders, who understand what it means to be authentic, who want to be authentic, who know that it's challenging to be so, and that they need to be helped and coached and supported to attain that status. That's what I do at Emmet Leadership Academy. At Emmet Leadership Academy, our commitment is leadership, developing and nurturing leaders based on truth, nurturing leaders based on truth. So scan that QR code, it will take you to the site. There's more elaborate information there, and you can quickly, register your place and become a part of this growing community of like-minded people who are committing themselves, rededicating themselves, to the essence of true leadership. Once again, thank you for joining me today. Tomorrow, we'll be looking at, tomorrow will be day 2. We'll be digging deep into being authentic in your identity, being authentic in your identity. Over the course of, the rest of the week, we'll be looking at the other individual elements, being authentic in your purpose, being authentic in your skills, being authentic in your principles, being authentic in your words, being authentic in your authority. That's on day 7. Being authentic in your results. That's on day 8. And the final day, we'll just put everything together. Authentic leadership, putting it all together, all that we have learned. And maybe if you are present and you want to ask any questions or raise any issues, you may be able to take advantage of that session. So thank you very much for joining me this evening. It's been a pleasure leading the session today. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. It promises to be another insightful session. Thank you. My name remains Olatunji Shobodu, CEO and founder, Emmet Leadership Academy, from where becoming authentic has come to you. Enjoy the rest of your night or day, as the case may be, and God bless you. Bye-bye.